Hey guys, Jay Carlin here. This video will be about how to read guitar notation. So there's a couple different ways to write down, for example, how to play a chord or how to play a scale or a melody line. And typically guitar players don't use traditional notation like you would see a flute player, a violin player, or a piano player learn. Classical guitar players typically do, but in the pop and the rock world, it's much more common to see one of two types of things, either a chord graph or tablature. So I'm going to talk about both of those today. Here we have how chords are typically notated. Okay, so for example, this E minor chord that I taught in lesson 2, the way that it works are these are the strings running up and down. So this would be the string here, and then these are the frets. So it's a little confusing. So this would be the first fret that I have highlighted here. That would be this. It's almost like it's been turned sideways, actually, like as if you were looking at it. Where your lowest string is on the left, that's here, and your highest string is on the right, that's over here, okay? And so then this would be the second fret, that would be here, this would be the third fret, that would be here, and then the fourth fret, whatever. Where you're supposed to put your fingers will typically have dots or X's or something like that. Some will put where the open strings are, but usually it's just where you put your fingers, and it's assumed that the open strings will be up there. So this E minor chord here is like this. You can kind of envision, if you're looking at it yourself, that it would look like that. It would have the open string here that you're not going to put a finger on. This second fret will have a finger here. The third string will have a second fret there, and these will all be open. Okay, so this E minor shape kind of looks like as if you're looking at the guitar. Okay, that's why they're set up top to bottom. I think it's just kind of when you're looking at guitar like this, that's what you're looking at, right? Similar to the A suspended, like we moved our two fingers up here in lesson number 2. The A suspended chord here will be these middle two strings, right? So again, this is my bottom string, my low E string. This is my A string here. These are the second fret. This would be first fret, second fret, third fret, right? These dots are where I put my fingers on the middle two strings there. So hopefully these will help you kind of keep track of the different chords that you learn, okay? I just did these in pages on my MacBook. One thing to take note of, if you're going to create your own, you want a monospaced font. So Courier is a really good one. If I don't use a monospaced font, what happens is they start to look really, really bizarre because the spacings aren't consistent. So if I did this, you're going to end up with something like that. Okay. So if you're wanting to do your own, just make sure a monospaced font just means that regardless of what letter or character or whatever you use, it's going to use the same amount of space. Okay. So that's important when you're making chord sheets. Similar for scale sheets. Okay. So these are for chords when I'm playing more than one note at a time. They're typically vertical. Tablature, or scales, I should call this one scales or tabs, are set up left to right. So it's more like you would read a book, okay? So my low string is here on the top. Actually, I'm sorry, I misspoke. That's your high string, okay? So your highest string will typically be on top. Your lowest string will typically be on bottom. The reason for this is that's how traditional music notation is notated. The lower pitches are on the bottom, the higher pitches are on the top, so the tablature reflects this, okay? So this is my low string here. This is my A string, my second lowest string here, the D string and on up, G string, B, and A, okay? The numbers show you which fret you're supposed to push. So this one that I have highlighted now is this note right here. It's my lowest string, and I have a 1, so it means push that. Typically read left to right. So this notation would say play 1, play 2, play 3, play 4. If they wanted me to play an open string, typically you'll just use the number 0. So that would be this. That would be the low, open E string, okay? So what I have written right now, I would play open, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just a reminder, I'm going to try to use one finger per fret. That's my A string here. Then I'm up to the D string here. This would be the third string, first fret, second fret, third fret, fourth fret, and on up. Here's the G string, first, and then the B string would be up here, and the E string would be up here, okay? So this is kind of how If you go to websites, they'll usually have one of the two, sometimes both. Sometimes you'll see the chord, sometimes you'll see the lead guitar line or the melody, sometimes you'll have a mix of both. But typically, 99% of the time, your chords are going to be like this, your scales are going to be like this, okay? So we'll talk a little bit more about notation as we go forward, but in the lessons, I'm going to start integrating some of these graphics, and so when you see them, you'll kind of know what I'm talking about, okay? If you have any questions, let me know in the comments.